Hey, good afternoon, everybody. This is Jason Flame, host of the Master Motivation Podcast. And thank you for being patient. We had a little bit of technical difficulty, but we got it worked out. And here we are. I am super excited to have yet again another guest who is going to bring some motivation, inspiration, and education to the show. And let me introduce him right away. This is J2 Mattioli. He is a seasoned professional wrestler hailing from the sunny shores of San Diego, California. He has made an indelible mark on the world of professional wrestling. With a humble beginning at Level Up Pro Wrestling under the mentorship of the legendary B-Boy, J2 embarked on a journey that has now spanned 7 years in the wrestling circuit. His tenacity and talent have taken him beyond the borders of California as he has graced the rings in Mexico and numerous states across the country. J2's style is a testament to his dedication and innovation, bringing a unique flair to every match he enters. His strong style maneuvers and technical prowess have earned him a dedicated fan following. Beyond the ring, J2 is known for his commitment to the wrestling community, always willing to share his knowledge and mentor aspiring talents. With each match, he continues to push the boundaries of what's possible in professional wrestling. J2 Mattioli is a name synonymous with passion, skill, and the pursuit of excellence in the world of sports entertainment. Welcome to the show, J2. Good to have you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Jason.
Super excited. See, and I told you, I knew he'd be on. There's Mr. Danny Devine, my opponent for Legends Night coming up in December.
I'm excited for that. I can't wait to see that.
Yeah, that'd be pretty good. Hey, I gotta say, man, your last match it was Sam Bennett, right? Well, not your last match, but the last match that I saw. Strong style match, dude. That was a vicious battle. It was really fun for me to watch because that's kind of my style, how I like to wrestle. I love it when it's just a little bit snug and a lot of aggression. So it was a fun match, very fun match to watch.
Yeah. I had a great time. I think me and Duke were definitely pushing each other to the limit, trying to see who'd break first. But I don't think either of us really broke first. Really, we just kept going.
No, it was great. And what a great night. Well, listen, hey, I want to just kind of introduce you to, the audience and let them get to know you a little bit more. Obviously, as we talked about before, being a professional wrestler, a lot of us started out because we were pro wrestling fans growing up, just absolutely loved it. What was your motivation behind becoming a professional wrestler?
So when I first started, my brother was a huge John Cena fan, and this is my brother-in-law. He found out about a school that was down the street from us, down in Imperial Beach, and he was telling me, hey, man, there's this professional wrestling school down the street. I really want to do it, because he would always tell me he wanted to be a pro wrestler. So he was kind of nervous. He never did sports, and he was asking me if I could do it with him. And I kind of thought about it for a bit, and I said, man, that $350 is going to be expensive to only do this for a month. But, I really love my brother-in-law, and I wanted him to pursue his dream. And at the time, wrestling was not my dream. It was something I really liked when I was a kid, and it just kind of came back into my life. And I decided to go with him, and we both tried out, and we both did the Hell Week type of thing for the first day. And I remember my brother threw up like 5 times. I didn't throw up once. And after that, B-Boy came up to me and asked me to keep coming in, because he said he saw something in me. So instead of my brother quit after the first day and lost $350. But me, I was like, man, I paid $350. I should probably keep doing this. So I just wanted to finish the month off, but I kind of started falling in love with it, and that's what made me stick with it.
Yeah. Well, having someone tell you that they see something in you kind of fuels that spark. It wasn't really a fire yet, but it just that little bit of a spark of interest. And for someone to believe in you and say, hey, I think you got something here. How did that, really change your way of thinking as you started your training?
It was nice, because I'm so used to not hearing that a lot when I was doing sports. I was playing lacrosse in college, and I felt like in college, the biggest thing they were, they had their favorites. And I felt like when I was playing college, all they cared about was me paying the fees to get more gear and be part of the team because you got to have those bench players. But it was nice to finally hear someone, a coach, a mentor, kind of tell you that they saw something in you.
Yeah, yeah, that's pretty cool. Let's go back a little bit. Talk about this college experience. What sports did you play growing up in high school, and what did you end up going to play in college?
So I played a lot of sports as a kid, but nothing really was the sport I was into until about high school. That's when I got into football. I played like freshman football into JV and then varsity. Then I did some wrestling in high school as well. I did that for about 2 years. Made it to CIF as a freshman, and I also did lacrosse. Lacrosse was my favorite sport to play in high school. Something about playing something different because I never heard about it before that, and I had a couple family members that used to play, and I wanted to try it out. And it was my definitely my favorite sport I played in high school. And then I went to college and played a little bit of college lacrosse as well.
Wow, interesting. And so you just kind of fell into lacrosse. You didn't play it as a kid. You got into it in high school.
Yeah, so my cousins were playing it. They were soccer players, and I think because lacrosse is kind of similar to soccer and hockey, they were playing it, and I looked up to my cousins, and I was like, man, I want to play so bad. So when I heard they were when I got to high school, I decided to join the team, and it was not that hard because there wasn't too many people joining lacrosse down here in San Diego, like in the South Bay, because we're very Hispanic dominant area, so more people want to play baseball, football, soccer, things like that, basketball. So lacrosse wasn't as popular, so I was able to get into that.
Well, it's definitely becoming more and more of a popular sport, and you're seeing it, played at a much lower, youth level, and leagues popping up. So it's kind of cool. I mean, I don't know enough about lacrosse other than there's kind of a lot of contact, right? I mean, it's a pretty tough sport.
Yeah, it's I remember all the days I would get bruises on my arms because guys are checking you with the sticks, when you're running with the ball, and they're just hitting your arms constantly, hitting your legs. It's pretty rough. It's pretty rough. Definitely not as bad as hockey, because hockey they like fight. Lacrosse, they just smack the crap out of you. So yeah.
That'd be pretty awesome to play a sport with a stick.
Yeah.
I think that would be super cool. I never played, never got to play. My son, who played lots of sports growing up, never really got into that, but I have several students that play it and really seem to enjoy it. So yeah, that's super cool. Now, what led you to stop playing lacrosse in college, and what was your goal when you were heading to college? What was the career of choice at that time?
I was going to school for acting because I really wanted to pursue a film career. At the time, my mom was very big about going to school and stuff. So I at least wanted to go to college and get a degree so she could, get off my case about it. And as I was going to school, they were starting to tell me, oh, you don't really have to go to college to be a movie actor. And that's when I kind of realized, oh, I'm kind of wasting my time. But I I was doing a bit of the theater in college, and then I wanted to do sports really bad. It was really hard to do football. I really wanted to do college football, but it was tough to get into it because they were doing like preseason or spring classes. It's kind of hard to get into it. So I never really got around to doing football in college. But when I found out they were doing college lacrosse, that's when I was like, ooh, I'm jumping right into that. And it was good because I kind of gained like the freshman 15 when I was in college. You kind of get comfortable and stuff and you don't play as much sports. And when I got into college lacrosse, I started shredding the pounds, and it was nice. It was nice to be fit again because I remember the training consistently was very nice.
Yeah.
But
Well, so you had a passion for acting and performance, and you also love the athletics, which really leads me to understand better why you love pro wrestling so much now, because that pro wrestling is the perfect combination of the performance, the acting, the all of that, like being on stage with the athleticism. And I mean, we don't have to go down this road, but I mean, how many times have you heard people say, oh, pro wrestling, it's fake? Yeah. It's like, dude, I don't know if anyone ever says that. I'm like, hey, why don't you just come train for a day and you let me know how fake that really is, you know. Now, of course, on the other hand, you know, then we get into the whole conversation about sports entertainment and it being pre-planned. Okay, fine, cool. But again, it's you know, it's like the performance and the athleticism all at the same time. I mean, I personally have never really seen such athletic performers in my life than I see in the pro wrestlers, because I mean, no matter what, maybe even more so at the lower levels in a way, because you know, it's like college football. College football players probably play harder than the guys in the NFL because they're hungry and they want it, right? And they're
Exactly.
probably more willing to do the crazy things that, you know, someone else might not want to do later on. But anyway, is that what it was for you? The combination of the performance and the athleticism that kind of really started to bring the passion in for professional wrestling?
Yeah, I think I didn't really think about it at first, but I think I like the idea of having training and then just getting better consistently, because I've always been the type of guy that when I commit to something, I don't want to be bad at it. I want to
Mm-hmm.
be really good at it. So there was a time I played soccer right after high school, and I never played soccer before that. I played as a kid, but never really got serious about it. And when I played my first game with people, I realized I wasn't very good. And I was like, man, like no matter how athletic I am, or I wasn't very good at the skills of soccer. And I commit myself to getting better. So I'd go practice. I'd go to a futsal arena and just kick the ball by myself, score goals by myself, and play on Sunday leagues just consistently. And I think for 6 years straight, I was just focusing on playing soccer. And that's kind of the same thing with me. I don't think it was so much of like, man, like pro wrestling's everything I wanted. It's when I commit to something, I really give it my everything, because I want to be very good at what I do. So
Mm-hmm.
that's just the nature of how I am. I think I just want to be
Well,
good at something that I do. So yeah.
yeah, I think that's an awesome mindset to have, whether, you know, it's pro wrestling, sports, or really anything else that you do in your life. I mean, if you make the commitment to do something and you are always learning and always growing and always striving to be better, just that whole mindset is going to take you to another level. Hey, I want to remind everybody that's watching live right now, if you are watching live and you have any questions for J2, please let me know. Would love to hear who's watching and any questions that you have. Also, just a quick reminder, please go to YouTube and subscribe to the Master Motivation Podcast so you can see all of the other amazing guests and be able to come back and share this video later. So we got Angel Vega on here, just commented, said that J2 is a gentleman and a scholar. Now, who's Angel?
Appreciate that.
I don't know Angel.
Angel, I know Angel. Angel's a pro wrestler up in VWE in Anaheim.
Cool.
Wrestles for Cholo. So I'm not sure if me and Angel's wrestled. Actually, I don't think we've had a match. I think we definitely haven't faced each other one-on-one yet. I'm definitely waiting for that one.
So you're calling him out, is what you're saying right now.
That's what I'm saying.
Make it
So,
happen.
Angel, if you're hearing this, Angel, I'm calling you out. You versus me. Let's do it.
All right, get him booked. Let's go. How many matches have you had in your career?
I'm so bad at this because I've known a couple people that are so good at like keeping track of every match they've ever done, what day, which opponent.
Yep.
And I'm just not very good at like doing that. So my assumption is maybe past 500 for sure.
Nice.
So definitely past 500. Because there was a good amount of years. I would say when I first started, I wasn't booked as consistently as I am now. The last 2 years have been the best for me as far as consistency with bookings. I've definitely been booked at least twice a week ever since 2 years ago. So yeah,
that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, you know, it's funny because Danny, Brendan, a couple of guys, you know, I can remember when we all started kind of, because I have a very distinct list and mine is not nearly as accomplished as yours. But my goal was always, when I started, I just wanted to get to 100. Like that was just my goal, was to get to 100. And fortunately I was able to get there. So anyway, well, here's Angel back. He said, you got it. VWE versus Primal. Sounds
perfect.
like it's
we'll make it happen.
All right.
We'll make it happen.
Danny wants to know, he wants to know why you hit him so hard.
Oh, it's all love, man. You know, J2 just likes to give all that love out. So that's why I hit so hard.
You know, it's so funny because in the martial arts world, that's exactly what we tell each other is that when we're sparring and fighting, whatever, the harder I hit you, the more I love you. And so
Yep.
it just kind of goes, right? Hey,
That's right.
tell me a little bit more about, your childhood and growing up, right? So are you from San Diego, born and raised San Diego?
So originally, I was born in Mexico. I was born in Mulahey, down Baja Sur of Baja California. I was born to my mom and my dad. Uh, they were never married. They were kind of a fling kind of thing. So my mom was really young and my dad was really old. So and down in
Hmm.
Mexico that was pretty normal. So my dad's from Italy originally. He's from Pozzallo, Sicily, and my mother was from Loreto, Baja California, in Mexico. And I think they met each other, and then I was born. So I was born down there, and I lived down in Rosarito for about a year and a half with my dad. My dad had some properties down in Mexico, and then he wanted me to move to the U.S. because my dad was a citizen. He came to the U.S. from Italy and lived in New York for a while, and then he moved down to Mexico and wanted me to live here. So I moved over here when I was about close to 2 years old, I would say.
Hmm. Any brothers and sisters?
Yeah, so I have like half brothers and half sisters. I don't have a full brother or sister. So my
Hmm.
dad he had two sons, and then he has a daughter who are all older than me, way older than me.
Hmm.
My sister's the only one that's alive from my dad's side right now because they were all so much older. And
Hmm.
then from my mother's side, she has three daughters and one son, and they're younger than me. So I think the oldest is about in their 20s, early 20s.
Hmm. And if you don't mind me asking, I mean, just how did that family dynamic affect you as you were growing up? Mom and dad were not together, correct?
Mhm.
So did did you feel like maybe you were missing anything as a child as you were growing up?
I mean, it was definitely hard because I wasn't raised with a sibling, so I kind of had that kind of single child upbringing, maybe a little spoiled, from my dad and my guardian mom. So I didn't live with my real mom. My real mom, she stayed in Mexico. She couldn't cross and I lost contact with her. My dad and her had issues, so I just stayed with my dad. But my dad also had business in Mexico, so he would leave me here with my guardian mom, who was my she was more like a family friend to my dad, and she was really the one who raised me. She was a principal in elementary school, not elementary school, a preschool down here in San Diego, and she's a wonderful lady. She was really the one who raised me and made me who I am today, and she just taught me how to be respectful, be a gentleman, things like that, and how to treat people the right way, and
Hmm.
things like that. So she was a big part in how I was raised.
Yeah. Well, you and I haven't had a lot of interaction, right? We probably don't know each other as well as some of the other wrestlers. But I'll tell you that Danny, it definitely speaks very highly of you, and he was super excited when I was having you on the show. And he and Brennan both have told me, so many great things about you. Just that you are, because, and I say this, I'll preface this because let's face it, the world of professional wrestling is sometimes filled with shitty people, and it's
Yeah.
it's rare it's rare that you get to meet someone that has you know decent morals and is a good friend. And so again, they've spoken very highly of you, which was one of the greatest reasons that I wanted to have you on the show and just kind of be able to highlight you in that regard. And so now you're giving this respect and honor to the lady that raised you, which just kind of tells me what kind of gentleman you are and what kind of respect that you have for her. So I mean,
Of
you
course.
could have said, we don't need to talk about that, but the way that you brought it out, I just really enjoyed hearing that. So I want to get back to some more about pro wrestling. Let's talk about, so breaking in, your training was b-boy, right?
Yep.
What was
Yep.
that first tryout, that hell week, as you said? What was that like?
It was tough. He was very very cold, very, oh, you're coming to wrestling, huh? You think this is easy, huh? Definitely trying to intimidate when I
Yeah.
first walked in. He wasn't as friendly. It wasn't like, hey man, we can't wait to have you sign up. It was definitely a you're welcome to my yard type of look. And
Mm-hmm.
I was like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, okay, this is different. And I didn't really think much about it. I think my mentality was so different because, like I said, the way my head was is like, oh, I'm not even going to be here till the end of the month. This is for my brother. But
Mm-hmm.
I saw my brother was really pushing. And that almost motivated me to be like, man, if my brother's pushing it, I should be pushing it. So I I pushed through it all. But yeah, he was definitely very tough. And it was a lot different than I was used to because I was so used to like people just kind of like my dad was more, oh, here's some money, let's go out to eat, oh, spend time with you. But I never had that really strict father figure in my life. So
Mm-hmm.
it was definitely a different way to look at things. And I kind of looked at it that way, like, man, I never had this kind of tough person to look up to. So that's definitely the vibe I was getting from B-boy.
Yeah, and that's for a lot of people breaking into business. That's kind of the way, right? Is weed out people that are weak and probably aren't going to make it, and that tough love, as you said. Would you consider B Boy to be someone that you considered a mentor?
Oh, of course. He helped me a lot because I definitely needed that stronger figure in my life because I was so used to kind of being not not that my mother I call her my mother, but not that my mother didn't teach me how to be tough, but I never had that male figure to really teach me those things. And it's crazy how that kind of happened later in my life, not early
Hmm.
in my life. So I definitely think he was that kind of person that I needed at the time.
Yeah, and growing up, not really having brothers and sisters that were necessarily your age or someone you can kind of really relate to. Was pro wrestling, did you find that pro wrestling gave you those brothers and sisters to kind of feel, to belong part of a family?
100%. The biggest thing I always think about is that wrestling was kind of the only thing out of all the things I've ever done, even acting, even film. I always had this weird feeling of not belonging in those things. I always felt like the odd man in some way, kind of like the black sheep of everything I ever did. Because even though, yeah, people were nice to me, people liked me, um, I just never felt like I was supposed to be there. It just felt weird every time. It didn't
Mm-hmm.
feel like my calling. And then when
Mm-hmm.
I joined wrestling, it just felt right. It felt like a glove, like it just fit perfectly. I never had that feeling of, oh, I feel like I shouldn't be here. It
Mm-hmm.
always felt right. No matter where I go, I could be somewhere or I know nobody, and I feel like I belong there.
and
So
and why do you think that is? Because like we said, sometimes people in wrestling are not always the easiest of people to deal with. They're not always the people that you would align yourself, if that makes sense, right? But why is it that you feel instantly part of something when you walk into any other locker room? What is it about the other pro wrestlers?
I think it's because you can tell everybody there truly loves wrestling for what it is.
Hmm.
Obviously, there's not everyone, but a
Yeah.
good amount. We all have the same goal at the end of the day. We all want to wrestle, and I think whether you like somebody or you hate them, at the end of the day, we all are doing the same thing. We're all wanting to be in the ring and perform in front of people, and at the end of the day, I respect everyone for that, and I think that's what makes me feel part of something that we all really enjoy.
Well, it kind of goes back to what you were talking about at the very beginning, is that when you start something, you want to be good at it, right? And you're gonna do everything it takes to be good at it. And I think that for the most part, I mean, most of the people that get in the ring have that same mentality. Be it for selfish reasons, because they want to be at the top of the card, or they want to get noticed, or maybe it is, just truly that mentality of learning and growing and evolving, and in some cases, like your own, helping others to find that in themselves. I find it's really cool how you were talking about a lot of the things that you did, you didn't really feel like you fit, or you didn't really feel like it was your thing. But when wrestling came into your life, it instantly felt like it fit, and it was just the right place, right? But also the fact that now you take other wrestlers and you help them live their dreams and help them achieve their level of success. I have a lot of respect for anybody that coaches anybody, because you have to be pretty selfless, and sometimes put your own needs and wants and desires aside to help somebody else. And Danny right now is saying that you helped make him a better wrestler. And I think that that's such a very unique skill and talent for someone to be able to do that for somebody else.
Yeah, it's very tough because I would say a lot of people in the business are very selfish, and I've met a lot that don't want to give back or have their own definition of giving back, and it sucks because there's such great people in this business, and I think because they didn't have a mentor or they didn't look at what their mentors taught them and learn from those things and make them a positive. I think that's really what I've noticed a lot of in this business. And, people say it all the time. You have to be a crazy person to be involved in pro wrestling. And, people will tell me all the time, they're like, oh man, you got your feet on the floor. You know what you're doing. You're a smart guy. And then I think about it, I'm like, man, but I'm still that crazy person that lets people, slam them on the mat, at the end of the day. But yeah, Danny's also vice versa. He made me get a lot better. My biggest thing is communication's key. As long as you're constantly communicating with everybody, what you're trying to do, what you're trying to get out of this business, I think people will know what your intentions are. And one of the biggest things I've always got out of wrestling's about giving back, because wrestling doesn't owe us anything at all. It moves on with or without us. And I would rather give back to wrestling because it's giving me so much, especially recently. There's so much that it's been giving me, and there is the sacrifice, there is a lot of loss, but at the end of the day, there's also a lot of reward. So that's kind of how I look at it.
No, absolutely. Having been a martial artist, almost my entire life, right? I started martial arts at 10 years old. I didn't even get involved in professional wrestling until I was 38 years old, right? Was always a fan. And there's a long backstory that I'll say for later about how I got into it. But, as soon as I got into pro wrestling, I immediately found how synonymous they were, martial arts and pro wrestling. The topic that you just spoke on, giving back, right? Giving back, helping others. Some of my greatest pride being involved with MPW was when Danny and I started our beginners course. I mean, we didn't have anything like that. And in the beginning, it was kind of just, anybody that wanted to get in the ring could wrestle. And it kind of evolved from there. And he's taken it to an entirely different level. And the shows are off the hook now. But, that was a really great sense of pride for me, was being able to give back, because I always look at it like, dude, I was 38 years old. I got to get in a professional wrestling ring and have over 100 matches. That was like my childhood dream. Like it was just everything I wanted. And I never thought that I would have that opportunity. And, Logan X and Coach Steve, Seth Skyfire, gave me this amazing opportunity to be able to do it. And so why would I not allow other people to live that same dream? I mean, I'm thinking about, Dustin Daniels just won the MPW World Championship. And watching him that night, knowing when he came in as a young teenager and how hard he worked, and as much work as Danny and Brendan and everybody on the crew helped him get to that level, dude, like that is so awesome to see that passed on, to that next generation, if you will. But like you said, hey, wrestling's going to move on with or without you. So, why not give back and be a part of the legacy that is professional wrestling? So a couple comments I'll throw up here because we got a few people watching. Oh, I got to put this one up here. Matt Shaw says, nobody tell him this, but I think J2 is good people.
I love Sweet Robin Shaw. He's a good friend, and he tells it how it is. I think more people need to be called out and accepted, because what I don't like is that I love that everybody's nice. Don't get me wrong. It's nice to be nice in this business, because sometimes it feels like people aren't. But sometimes I feel it's a little too nice. I feel like people are not genuine about it. So I really enjoy when Shaw will tell me, bro, your match sucked. And I was like, dang, I gotta have a better match next time. But it makes me better. And I would rather have friends that tell me the truth than friends that lie to my face. And that's just how it is. So
100%. I would way rather someone just give me an honest and true, bit of feedback than just like this, facade, this fake, like, oh, that was so good. Like, no, it probably wasn't. But you're right. And speaking of Shaw, like, I mean, he's another guy that I had a chance to work with a long time ago. I remember when he was coming up at MPW as Malcor. That was his original gimmick. That was pretty cool. But look at him now. Like, he's doing all kinds of stuff, and he's married and has a baby. Like, I feel like I watch all these kids grow up. It's super awesome.
He's also one of the coaches for Primal Pro.
Nice. Angel says both MPW and Primal would be places I would recommend people look up if they want to train in pro wrestling. That's a great compliment. Love hearing that. And we got another comment. Get Primal with Primal Pro Wrestling in San Diego. That's Lamson. Good to see you, bud. Thanks for watching. Who else we got on here? Danny, what else did you say? He says MPW are great. J2 is a big part of why. Yeah, I mean, I think this is something that I talk a lot about, just in my own martial arts school, within the podcast and everything, is culture is created, right? So MPW is the way it is because not by accident. It was by people that had a vision of what it could and should be, right? Primal is going to be what it's going to be because of the culture that you cultivate and build. And so tell me a little bit about, the culture that you're trying to build, the reputation that you're trying to build down there in San Diego.
So the whole goal of Primal Pro Wrestling was that I wanted the focus to be school in pro wrestling, because I felt like the last time when I was at Level Up or SC Pro, the focus was never the students in the school. It was more about shows. And I know people are already hitting me up about shows and, oh, J2, when are we doing a Primal Pro Wrestling show and all that stuff? And I understand the branding and all that. It's cool. But my priority is to create the next generation of SoCal talent that not only will take over the scene, but be respected as good pro wrestlers that know what they're doing. Because not trying to throw shade at anybody, but I just noticed that right now in the wrestling scene, there's a lot of guys that are just popping up too fast, quicker than they should. And I also feel like a lot of these promoters are willing to just put guys out there just because they cost $10, are willing to do it for free. And I think quality is a very big thing. And I want to create quality wrestlers, but not just quality wrestlers, but guys that are professional, walk in a locker room, and you can go, wow, that guy's really nice. He came from Primal Pro Wrestling. Now that's a pro wrestling school. That's where the professionals come from. So that's really what the vision I see Primal Pro is, a professional pro wrestling school that any promoter could say, oh, students from there, those are pros. I want them on my show.
Yeah, Lamson just said he's clapping for you and saying that, thanks for focusing on the students. I love student matches to see how they grow, but give them time, and I think that that is true. I remember, my very first match, I took a lot of heat, when I got my first match, because I probably only been training for maybe 3 months, I think, something like that. Of course, I had almost 30 years of martial arts experience and performance training. So, factor that in for what it's worth. But man, I took a lot of heat because it was like, who is this? Who is this guy? What's he do? Why does he even belong in our ring so soon, so quick? And, because some people wait a year, longer. So I understand that, and I get that. And I, on the other hand, and Danny will confirm this, man, some of the struggles about being a coach is that the first question is, when do I get a match? When can I get a match? When am I going to be on a show? And it's like, when you're ready. Well, when am I ready? When I say you're ready. You know what I mean? Like, and just having that trust, so this is a good time to maybe kind of talk to some of those students and talk to people that have this, idea that, take a couple classes and I'm going to have a match. What are some of these things that you want a student to know that will tell them that they're ready?
I definitely think I definitely think they gotta feel ready. One of the biggest things I remember Benny B-Boy would ask me is when I debuted, and then I got hit up to do my first booking after my debut. He kept asking me, "Are you ready? Do you think you're ready?" And at first, I was like, "Well, yeah, you made me debut, so I think I'm ready, right?" And then, but the fact that he kept asking me, like like me questioning myself, like, am I ready? Do I think I'm ready? And I feel like the kids need to understand, not just kids, a lot of these guys are grown ass adults, but what I'm trying to say is that
Yeah.
they need to understand that if they feel confident in their skills to have a match, that's the first step for me is do you feel confident? Do you feel like you can go out there and do this? And if they say, yeah, I can do it, and then I go, all right, well, I'm glad you feel confident, but from your coach's perspective, you're almost there. You need this, you need that. Now they need the coaches to kind of tell them if they're ready or not. So that to me, there's two kind of steps. There's do you think you're ready? And then do we think they're ready? Because there could be vice versa too. I could think someone's ready and they completely like, oh, no, I'm not ready at one bit. I need a lot of work. And in your mind, you're like, you're doing great. You've been doing practice. You're hitting everything. Oh, I think I still need more time. It has to go both ways. And the reason I say that is because wrestling has always been that. To me, it's a partnership. It's never one person, because if I say they're ready and they go out there, they might not be fully ready because they're mentally not there yet. Now, if they think they're ready, but I don't think they're ready, then they might mess up, all that kind of stuff. But if we both agree and say, I think you're ready, and he's like, you know what? Yes, I am ready because you believe in me, the match will come out a lot better because we're both agreeing. And I think wrestling's all about that, is both sides need to agree. Both partners need to agree. So I think it even goes that way from being a coach.
Yeah, definitely. So what are some things that you look for when you're given the green light?
Listening is a big thing. A lot of guys don't listen. They just kind of hear you, but they don't register what's going on. So if I notice that during a practice match, I'll say, okay, guys, we're going to redo that match, but change this, change this, change this, change this. And then they do the match again, and it's the same exact match. Nothing changed. That tells me that they can't listen. The other thing I look for is obviously having a bit of cardio. I'm not asking them to run a marathon, but I do think it's important to not get blown up and understand how to breathe inside the ring and pace yourself. Obviously, slowing down is one of those things that just takes time. I don't expect a brand new student to understand what slowing down means, because 100% of the time, none of them can slow down because they figure that out as they go. But I definitely think if a student can pace themselves a little bit, that's another sign for me. And the other thing is just showcasing that their footwork is good, their move sets, the basic stuff, suplexes, chain wrestling, universal headlock, working a hold for a second, things like that. Like those simple things, if they can do all those things and it's safe, it's clean, and I notice that they're not going to hurt anybody, that's a very big thing for me as well.
So, when you first started out, what were some of your biggest challenges?
When I first started, the biggest things I struggled with was my rolls. I actually had a very hard time with rolls, and this goes back to working hard and being good at something. I kept working on my rolls every day. I would ask B-Boy, hey, I want to come in and just work on my rolls. So we put up the mats, and every day I would work on my rolls. Specifically, like my back roll was really bad. I couldn't do a back roll very well, but I just kept working on it, and finally I got good. The other thing I struggled with a lot was I would say was my flip bumps. I had a hard time flipping and landing flat. I kind of like flipped and I kind of like kept moving forward. And I didn't know why. I was like, I just don't know why. I don't know why I'm doing this. And I just kept working on it. And finally, the more I did it, I finally started landing flat. And I think that's a very big reason why I debuted so early, because a lot of the B-boy at the time only had 2 students to debut when I joined, was Michael Hopkins and Casey Douglas, and they debuted in about, I would say, 10 to 11 months, and I debuted about the same amount of time. And after that, he didn't have a student for another 2 years because every other student that he had just wasn't up to par to what we were doing. And I think a lot of that had to do with us just constantly coming in and training.
Okay. So on the flip side, what did you know was your strength in the ring?
I think what my strength in the ring was probably the acting part, just because I understood that, oh, I have to sell, I have to make noise, I have to talk, because if I just stay quiet, then I'm not interesting. And probably my creativity when it came down to it. I was a little more creative on, not so much creative, but I was willing to take risks when it came to things, because I did some things where I was like, I don't know if I do that anymore. Like I would do some dumb taunts or a dumb dance, or I would say something that wasn't terrible, but it might have sounded stupid at the time. But I was willing to make mistakes to learn from them, and I think that was really my strength.
Yeah, I mean that's a big one, is being willing to make a mistake and then learning from it, right? Like most people in general, let alone get in a ring with however many fans watching you live, are willing to kind of like take that risk or try something new just to kind of see what the response is. Because like I mean, sometimes just being out there, you have to feel the crowd a little bit and see if something works. I mean, not everything happens overnight, right? It takes a lot of like trial and error, and then like when something works, right, you kind of build off of that and kind of stick with that. um Tell me about your goals for the upcoming year or years. You said the last 2 years have been kind of your best years yet, filling up with bookings, working a ton. Um, do you have aspirations? I mean, it might be a silly question to ask, but I mean, do you have the aspirations to go to the top? Is that your goal, or are you feeling like you're where you belong?
Oh, yeah, I definitely have aspirations for going extremely far. It's like you said earlier. You got to be the best at. I'm very hard headed. I do not like staying where I'm at. I like to keep going.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but my goals for the year, and it's crazy because this goal right here was something I didn't think was going to happen for 10 more years.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that this happened was crazy to me. And this was a long-term goal. And the fact that it just skipped forward and now it's here is crazy. But my other goal is obviously to get a contract with a big major company. My goal is to definitely get to Japan, which is crazy because in 2 weeks, I'm not even 2 weeks, next week, I'll be flying to Japan, wrestling, making my debut in Japan. So that goal is already happening. So
Wow.
it's crazy to say that I'm already going to fulfill that goal real soon. And hopefully, if everything goes well, they like me, they keep flying me out, and it's a regular thing to wrestle in Japan and hopefully get onto Pro Wrestling Noah, New Japan, or All Japan Pro Wrestling. I just want to be on a major Japanese company and wrestle there consistently. And hopefully that helps me become a bigger name and it gets me to the WWE tryout, the AEW, or maybe they just want to sign me from there. So that's kind of where I'm going from now, and just building the name. And obviously, the other goal is to just build Primal, make it this big deal, so people want to come train at our school and learn from the trainers that I feel could really help them in their career.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, hey, congratulations on getting to go to Japan. That's for a lot of wrestlers. That's a really big, lofty goal just to get that opportunity. So, congrats on getting that far, and looking forward to seeing what you do. Right. So, I
Thank
always
you.
like to ask these last few questions at the end. Who has been your favorite person to work with over the years?
My favorite person to work with?
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. There's always like a couple of guys in wrestling where you have the best chemistry with. And I can't say one because I feel like other people will get mad at me if I just pick one name. So I'll say like 5 people. The first one I'm going to say is Danny Devine. Every time me and Danny get in the ring, we just have fun, great matches. I feel like I don't even have to talk to him about it. The other person I would say is Sweet Robin. Me and him can literally just not talk about the match, and we can just go out there and have fun. And it's fun to wrestle your friend. The other person I would say is Super Astro. He's from Mexico, wrestled for CMLL, Super Astro Jr. His dad's a legend in Mexico, and he is one of my favorite guys to wrestle. Every time we wrestle, better and better matches every time. The other person I would say is Michael Hopkins, my brother. Me and him, we started together, and every time we get in the ring, it's always top matches for me and him, and I truly enjoy that. And then I would say the last one, and I know people are gonna get a little mad because they didn't say their names, but honestly, man, my last choice would probably have to be. I would have to say Brendan Devine. I really enjoy wrestling Brendan Devine. He's just another guy that I truly enjoy working with. So Brendan Devine's one of those guys.
Well, that's a great list. Some great guys on there, and they're commenting here about it as well. What was your most memorable moment in professional wrestling?
Man, it actually just happened. At first, I was gonna say like my title win, but last week at NTLL up in Palmdale, they played my music, and I don't know if you know, Jason, but I come out to the Weeknd's song "Save Your Tears," and the Weeknd's one of the hottest artists right now. Everybody knows who he is around the world. So I came out to his music. They put the spotlight on me. Lights were off, and there's a video on Instagram you can watch, and everybody was singing, every single person, and I was like, "Holy crap!" And I got up, and it's funny because the music guy didn't turn my music off; he just kept it playing. So I was like, "All right," and I just kept dancing, and everybody, that was the loudest I've ever heard people sing the song, and I for a second I thought I was like at WWE and I was like the main star and people were singing my name. So that, for me, that is the most memorable moment of wrestling right now for me.
Yeah. That's a pretty cool feeling though, right? It was funny. I went to a Raider game yesterday, right? And and so they were announcing the players coming out. And I looked over at my wife. I said, I wonder what feels better, getting your name announced coming through the tunnel in a football game, or coming out of the curtain, from a WWE or any professional wrestling match. And I was like, because I know that feeling of coming through the curtain, and like you just kind of feel the energy of the crowd. You're like, dude, this is so freaking cool. Like sometimes I don't know, it's just something that I think that's what hooks a lot of the pro wrestlers, just that feeling alone. Or when they get a chant in a match, you're just like, oh, that's so cool. Now, is there anybody, and maybe there's more than one, but do you have a dream match list? Probably a long list, but could you narrow it down a little bit?
Yeah. So
that you have not wrestled.
Yes. One of the guys that I have not wrestled from the local scene that I have not faced and I really want to wrestle is Matt Vandegrift. I don't know if you know who he is. Matt Vandegrift started like a year before me, and me and Matt just never touched. We just never did. So he's definitely like one of the top guys I want to wrestle. When we start going to bigger names, I would say the biggest name I want to wrestle, and I tell everybody this: if I wrestle this person at the Tokyo Dome, at Wrestle Kingdom, just know I made it in pro wrestling because this man to me is one of the greatest wrestlers right now, and that is Kazuchika Okada from New Japan. If I ever got a chance to wrestle him in the ring at Wrestle Kingdom, that would be crazy. Lamb Son saying Eddie Kingston. Yeah, I would love to wrestle Eddie Kingston. I think Lamb Son knows that me and Eddie would probably we'd probably work well together because we both really love the Japanese style. So
Well, so my last question is going to be, if there's one or two, maybe three people that you have patterned your move set, your persona, your gimmick, your whole persona, who do you emulate the most? Who have you, really looked at to define who you are as a wrestler?
it's funny because most people already know this answer. I would say like 99% of people know the answer, so I'm gonna say it anyway. But it's definitely Mitsuharu Misawa. He is the guy that, and I gotta give a big thanks to Sweet Robin Shaw because he's the one that really showed me him. Because Sweet Robin was telling me, I would say, when he jumped down to level up, and he was like, "You look like a Japanese wrestler. The way your body is and the way you move is very similar to the Japanese guys in the '90s." And he's like, "You should watch the Four Pillars." And I started watching them, and the one that really stood out to me was Mitsuharu Misawa. And for those of you that don't know, Misawa was in All Japan. He was one of their top guys, and he also started his own promotion and called it Pro Wrestling Noah, which is still alive today. And Misawa unfortunately passed away in the ring. He's one of the few wrestlers that died in the ring, and but he is the inspiration for me to wrestle the way I do. I love the way that I almost see myself in him when I watch him in videos. I imagine myself as him because I feel like we're the same person. It's just weird. Yeah. There's this connection. You can say I'm a Misawa mark. You can say I'm a Japanese mark. I don't care. But me and him, I just don't know why. Me and him, I just feel like we're the same in some sort of way. So yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, hey, listen, we're right near the end of our time, and we've had a lot of interaction with Lamson and Danny and a couple others here watching today. So thank you guys for watching. If you have any other questions, you want to drop them, you got less than a minute to do so. But I got to say, I've really enjoyed just our conversation and our time talking, about you today and talking about your career. And I look forward to hearing more about what you do in Japan and what you do beyond that. And I urge everybody to go check out your school if they're in your area and they're looking to get involved in pro wrestling. And eventually, when you do have your own shows, that people go and check them out. I think it's really important for us to support, all of the independent wrestling, not only in Southern California, but all over, because I believe that anybody that wrestles on the independent level, these are guys that, guys and girls that have dreams, right? And really that's what it's all about, is they have a dream and they're getting after it, and they have so much passion. I mean, every show that I've been to, you can feel if you're really watching, you could feel the passion in the people that are getting in the ring. And I just I love it, always have, always will. Love being a part of it in any way that I can. And what you said to me at the beginning was, when I asked you, what is your message? You said, if you have a goal, if you have a dream, go after it. Anything else that you want to add to that and kind of close those thoughts?
Yeah. Sometimes it's going to feel like everyone's against you. And sometimes it seems that way. But at the end of the day, you have to be the one to push forward and not let anyone stop you from your goals and what you're trying to achieve. Because at the end of the day, it's your life. You only get one life, and you deserve to reach your goals. So don't let any outside forces stop you, and keep going.
I love it. I love it. Well, hey, I've enjoyed our time here today. I'm so happy that I was able to have you on the podcast. Once again, I want to urge everybody to share this video and also go to YouTube and subscribe to Master Motivation Podcast. You can even go and find my interview with Danny Devine under Danny Cleary, and also Brendan Devine had him on as well. So go check those out and so many more. Juan, thank you. Thanks for your time. Thanks for your sharing your experience and education in the world of pro wrestling. Well, I wish you all the best of luck, and keep getting after it.
Thank you. Appreciate you guys.
All right, guys. Well, that's it for today. If you have a dream, get after it. Have a great week. We'll see you guys next time.